Hey everybody, this is TJR, and I just wanted to make this last video offering my final thoughts on the Revolver box set, and also to talk about the book that came with it. I didn't get to talk about that when Robert and I discussed the session tracks, so I wanted to talk about that in this video. But first I wanted to clear up some misunderstandings regarding my review of the stereo mix. I'm not sure why, but there seems to be a number of you out there who feel that I didn't like the remix. And I hope I made it very clear in my video. And if I didn't, I'm going to make it clear now. I think the remix sounds really good. I think they did a great job with it, okay? The difference this time that I was trying to point out in my previous video is that in the past, with all the previous remixes, I have always unanimously made the new remix my go-to version. Thinking, yeah, maybe at some point I'll give the original stereo remix, and when I refer to the stereo remix, I refer to the 2009 remasters of the original stereo mix. And I think to myself, yeah, maybe I'll go back and listen to them again someday. But honestly, why would I when I can listen to this amazing new remix? That's always been my attitude towards these. And I was rather expecting I'd feel that way this time. And again, this is not to say that I disliked the remix. I thought it was excellent. And I agree with everybody out there who says that this new remix fixes all the problems that were always inherent in the original mix. And yet, as I listened, I found myself not that easily wanting to give up the original stereo mix. At times, I felt that on certain tracks at least, I preferred the original stereo mix. Other times I preferred the remix. And in some cases, I thought it was kind of a draw, a tie, that they both offered unique listening experiences that I enjoyed equally. This is very subjective. And trust me, nobody was more surprised by my reaction than me. I also know I'm not the only one out there who feels this way. There were other YouTube channels out there, such as The In Groove and 45 RPM, where they said, yeah, the new remix sounds great, but I feel like something was lost this time around, and that there's something inherent in the original mix that makes it Revolver. And maybe it's just the demixing technology that was used this time. This was the technology that was used for the motion picture Get Back. And it was used for Revolver because in some cases there were tracks that were bounced together that were just locked. You couldn't separate them. And this new technology allowed them to do that. And again, I think the remix sounds great. So hopefully I've made that really, really clear. I just simply found myself not that willing to give up the original mix in the way that I had previously with the previous remixes. In the past, I have always picked up the CD version of these sets, of these remixes. And the reason being is because, one, the Blu-ray would always be included in the CD version, never included in the vinyl version. Two, I don't feel that I need session tracks on vinyl. I'm perfectly fine with them on CD. As a supplement to the Super Deluxe set, I would pick up a vinyl version of the remix because I did find that both formats offered uniquely different listening experiences for me when I did listen to the remix. So I would always pick that up afterwards. So this time around, since I did pick up the vinyl version of the box set, the Super Deluxe set, I went out and picked up the 2 CD edition of the remix. And the reason for the 2 CD edition is because it has the remixes of Rain and Paperback Writer on the second disc, which then includes highlights of the session tracks. By the way, I thought I'd show this real quick. This is a rather nice little package for a 2 CD set. It has a little slipcase here. Here is the actual 2 CD set gatefold. And it also comes with what I believe is a pretty hefty booklet for a 2 CD set. It reprints a lot of information from the hardcover book. Not all of it, of course. You know, you're getting what you pay for. But I'd say it's pretty substantial for a 2 CD disc set. The single CD discs that I've seen, it has a much smaller booklet. I think it's a pretty good value, especially for those who feel this Super Deluxe set is just too expensive, and I get that. I understand it. So with that said now, I want to talk about the book. I've read the entire thing. I mentioned this in my review of the remix, but Giles Martin's introduction is the most telling bit of information, in my opinion, on the remix. I said in my review that it's the most subtle remix that he and Sam Okell, some people have pronounced the last name Okell, I'm not sure which one is correct, but that they want you to hear the songs, not the remix. And I think it's a very faithful and subtle remix, in my opinion. A great job, again. But that's, to me, one of the most telling aspects of this remix. After that, the track-by-track listings here, this takes up, of course, the bulk of the book. I read all of this, and I found this indispensable. I found this to be very helpful, in fact, in preparing for the video that Robert and I did where we discussed the session tracks. It was extremely helpful. The Road to Revolver, which is the one of the essays in this book, a great bit of information about the time period leading up to Revolver and what was going on around the Beatles and the rest of England, London, and the music world at large during the time that the album was being recorded. It gives a lot of good historical information, helps give you a better context for where everything was at that time. But most notably, I wanted to talk about the essay in the book by Questlove entitled Evolver. Questlove, of course, the drummer of the band The Roots, the hip-hop group The Roots, an extremely talented band who here in the United States are the house band for Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show. And they are the band, basically the house band that plays with every musical act that shows up and appears on the show. They're an amazing band. But I wanted to discuss his essay. There was some online talk I read that kind of made the assumption that the reason why they had Questlove write an essay versus some of the usual suspects is to appeal to a younger audience. And I think that's a lot of nonsense. The younger audiences that might just be getting into the Beatles are not the audience for this set here. It is us older folks, boomers, mostly, I feel, are the audience. I mean, yes, I'm sure some of you are younger out there that picked it up, but I think it is the older audience that has lived with this music for decades and decades, for the better part of our lives, that are the ones who are going to pick up this huge box set. We're the ones. What I think is great about Questlove's essay is it's coming from a completely different perspective because he's a much younger musician, and he referred to the Beatles' music as his dad's music growing up. He was, of course, really into music, but this was his dad's music. These albums were in his father's record collection. He became more acquainted with the Beatles' music first through remakes by younger artists and sampling that was done by younger artists. And it's kind of it's a great perspective because he tells how he came to know the catalog. You know, first thinking it's his dad's music, that's just the arrogance of youth. the rebelliousness, and then eventually discovering the catalog on his own as a musician and learning to appreciate it. And so it's kind of neat because you kind of get to discover the catalog through his eyes, a fresh perspective, a more youthful perspective. And I think that's why music reaction videos are so popular here on YouTube, because it's usually younger people reacting to older music. And however, with that said, I think I need to say that my personal opinion is that a lot of these music reaction videos are not as authentic as you may be led to believe, and maybe that's a video I need to make at some point. But Questlove's road to discovery is definitely authentic, and his essay is to me one of the high points of this book. The other part of this book that I really enjoyed was, of course, the chapter on the cover art. And of course, when I did my unboxing, I was rather surprised to see this, comic strip here. I'm big time into comics. That I was like, what is this? I've never seen this before. And of course, a lot of people in the comment section clued me in and said, it's about the making of the artwork. And since then, of course, I've read the chapter. I've read this comic strip, and I should point out it's an excerpt from a book that came out in 2017, a very limited edition book entitled Birth of an Icon, Revolver 50. It's a graphic novel, but it was extremely limited, I think, to only 500 copies. It must have been very expensive, but it's not available. So I'm grateful that even a little excerpt got reprinted here. It would be great if they could reprint that book, but then I guess that would take away the limited edition nature of it, or at least make it available online so that the rest of us can read it. I would certainly be interested in that. I would be interested in purchasing a digital edition if that was possible. Anyways, though, but yeah, that was another great part of the book, was just reading about the cover and getting to read this excerpt from this graphic novel. So one other thing that I thought I should mention is that briefly, after I explored all the materials of this set here, I kind of wondered if maybe I should have gone with the CD version instead. And again, maybe it's the demixing technology, but with all the previous remixes, I always found that both the CD and the LP versions offered uniquely different listening experiences that I enjoyed equally. But for some reason, after listening a couple of times, I really found myself leaning more towards the remix on CD. And again, maybe it's the demixing technology. I honestly was feeling that the CD version of the remix was better than its LP counterpart. So I briefly kind of had myself wondering, wow, maybe I made the wrong choice. But if I had made that choice, I wouldn't have gotten the analog mono LP, which was a direct transfer from the original analog tapes. And again, I've heard other YouTubers out there, like InGroove, 45 RPM, saying that the mono LP in this set is the main attraction. It's better than the mono transfer that was done with the Beatles in Mono LP box set, which I think was around roughly 2014. Don't quote me on that. I only ever owned the CD version, which came out in 2009. And that this would be the record they'd probably go to the most, and I have to say I agree. In fact, I've taken the mono LP out of this box and put it with my regular record collection for easy access, because I really find myself going for that more than anything else. Of course, the CD version does come with a CD of the new mono transfer, but of course this is a digital version. So all I can say to myself is that if I had gone for the CD, I would have regretted not getting that mono LP. But then again, I think to myself, you spent $200 for that. No, not true, because I got the book and I got everything else with it. But anyways, though, yeah, I love this mono LP. It sounds absolutely fantastic. Also, I love the 45 RPM that was included. Once again, the remixes of Rain and Paperback Writer, prefer to hear them here, but that 45 does have the mono transfers of Rain and Paperback Writer. They sound great. So this time my action was quite different. And again, no one was more surprised by this than me. So now the next question is, what album will get the remix treatment next year? Will they go back and go to Rubber Soul, or will they move forward and do Magical Mystery Tour? Who knows? Let me know what you think might happen. And let me know your final thoughts on this too. Any other things you might want to say. Hopefully I've cleared this up for everybody. I do like the new stereo remix. I just don't find myself that quick to abandon the original stereo mix, which I have done with all the previous remixes. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me for these 4 videos. And if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. My Patreon supporters receive exclusive weekly videos not available here on the channel. And if you'd like to be a Patreon supporter and get your name in the credits and watch the exclusive weekly videos, please go to patreon.com/TJR the original and make a monthly pledge. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.